Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Sunday, June 2nd, 2024, in the space and time continuum. I run a small business. I invented a contraption that ended up selling really well. We're a very successful, extremely small business. It's ran by my wife, Heidi, and I. Our daughter Eve comes in and helps assemble sometimes. Otherwise, it's me doing the assembling. And there was a major problem with our second biggest, most important product that I had to deal with we had to deal with together over the last few months. I had to redesign a lot of parts, the whole design of the product, basically, and then individual parts, bring them to my manufacturer, make them, try them out. It was like developing a new product again, except this was under fire because more and more people were ordering this thing, and it's, again, one of the most important tools to these people. It was just high pressure, and it's kind of absorbed every thought except for me doing this show for months now. And just this last week, finally, after my new design got all put together, we started to put some out. I assembled a bunch more. We got caught up on our huge backlist. That was very stressful because these people have been waiting and waiting. And they have very important work they need to do, and they need this very important tool to do it. It's become a kind of a responsibility instead of just a business that we're making money on. I feel responsible for these customers of ours because they're relying on us to take these gigs they're doing where they need to use our equipment. Anyway, very stressful. Finally got it going. Finally got a bunch of them out to get caught up on our backlog. Just this week, we feel like we can breathe again. You know, we've come up to the surface to take a breath. And on Friday, I decided to take the day off. I couldn't totally. I had to be in and do some things in the morning, but then I was going to take the rest of the day off. Then all of a sudden, I found myself, wow, what do I do with myself now? Because my brain is like, I'm so disconnected. If you're somebody that I know, you know that you haven't heard from me, right? So I didn't know what to do with myself. I ended up driving around a little bit. I was listening actually to MSNBC, which everyone calls a liberal network, which I do watch, like the Nicole Wallace show. I think she's got great guests. A lot of these guests that I talk about, Andrew Weissman, Lisa Rubin, more than that, but a lot of really knowledgeable guests. Neil Katyal. I think she does a great job. I think her show is one of the best on the network. And I think it's very fair. They're trying to get to the truth of things. But during the day, I hadn't really listened because I'm in my shop. Listening to live MSNBC in the afternoon or noontime is not something I do. Andrea Mitchell still has a show. Questionable whether she should anymore or not. She sounds a little sleepy, but that aside, and I used to love Andrea Mitchell. I mean, she's achieved a lot. But man, now her guests that she has on, I can see why all of you are so depressed. You know, I know a lot of you listen to this show for some hope because now I realize you're listening to this stuff. This is what you're being exposed to. I was getting depressed, and you know me, I'm Mr. Optimistic. Listening to Andrea Mitchell and the guests she had on, and of course this is Friday, the day after the guilty verdict. Oh, by the way, last week, if you listen to the show, we talked about by the time we're on next week, we may be talking about Trump as a convicted felon. And we are. I said, and of course backed up by all this information by a lot of these people, I said there was a very good chance he was going to be, a verdict would come in on Thursday. It did. I thought he's going to be found guilty of at least one. Of course, I thought possibly all, but, you know, I was still surprised, but not surprised. 34 guilty counts. Every single count, he was found guilty, unanimously. And there were people on the jury One person said that they get their news primarily from Truth Social. This jury was approved of by Todd Blanche and the other Trump lawyers. When they say this jury did a bad job or this jury is wrong, they approved of it. They rely on everybody not knowing how the judicial system works. And I think people who watch Fox primarily, people who are Trump followers, don't know. And that's part of why we're doing this show. That's why part of why you listen to this show. We're learning about this because we want to know the truth. Okay, getting back to how depressing it was to listen to Andrea Mitchell's show in the middle of the day, I ended up driving around more, kind of thinking, wow, now I see why some of you, and I get calls from a few of you, kind of asking questions about, oh my God, I think Trump is going to, blah, blah, blah. And you're kind of in a panic mode about it. And I kind of talk you down sometimes from that panic mode. I had no idea that you were being tortured by these people all day long and into the night. The regular media, the corporate media, the legacy media, whatever you want to call it, wants you to feel that way. They want this to be a horse race election. They want everyone to be afraid that Trump still has any kind of power. They want everyone to be afraid of Trump and his followers. And that's why they say this stupid crap. I couldn't believe one of her guests, I didn't even take the time to look up who it was, but I was like, who is this yutz? This is absolute propaganda. This is absolute BS. Trying to keep people scared. I jokingly was thinking to myself, okay, now guilty on 34 counts. Let's hear how that hurts Joe Biden and the Democrats. That's all her show was about. I couldn't believe. I was joking. And if you've been listening to this show, you've been hearing a lot of even the Sunday morning shows, which have been crap for 9 years. I stopped watching them. I was a huge fan. But they're improving. A lot of the hosts holding guests' feet to the fire. I saw a great clip from this morning. Of course, somebody was subbing on Meet the Press, and he did a great job, way better than the usual host, of holding Tom Cotton's feet to the fire. If you want to watch clips of that, find them somewhere on YouTube or something. So it's improving in a lot of ways. But man, it still is so much. This is going to help Donald Trump. This is going to make him do better in the election. Really? They didn't talk much about this. I'm going to play you a clip of who they want you to be afraid of. Listen to this guy.
As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell.
Okay, what? Soft? It sounds like Donald Trump has a man crush on the judge, but no, when you see him in action, he's the devil. He's the devil. Okay, this is Donald Trump on Friday. He tried to tout it as much as possible, and of course, Andrea Mitchell and all these pukes. Sorry, Andrea, but I'm so sick of this. All these people saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to have a big press conference at 11:30 a.m. Friday morning. He's going to address the nation. They keep propping him up like he's a president. He's not. We're not going to go into whether or not he should have been. All right. Anyway, they're still saying that this is going to be an important event. Donald Trump's going to address the nation on his guilty verdict. What? So he gets up there. There's nobody there with him, nobody from his family. He's standing up there all by himself. His hair is the most out of control. Like, there's nobody helping him with his hair anymore, apparently. I mean, it's beyond flock of seagulls at this point. And his eyes were barely open. He's hunched over. His podium is down like at his waist. It's not even a podium. It's sort of like a toy podium. It looks like, a podium you'd get for your toddler. And then a microphone stand just sitting behind the podium, not connected to the podium. It was really weird. Of course, 78,000, maybe just 34 American flags behind him. Again, all by himself. No legislators in red ties. No MAGA Mike Johnson. Just Donald Trump looking the worst that we've ever seen him. Barely talking, saying stuff like that. At one point he pointed out, and a poll was taken. He's not even talking like this. And he's just, and last night a poll was taken by the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail, a far right-wing entity. They took a poll last night. Apparently they took a poll of 400 people, which I even have a hard time believing. And we're up 6 points. We were already up a lot. But now we're up 6 more points because of this guilty verdict, it's a disgrace. It should have never, about 15 minutes later, he starts that story all over again. And the Daily Mail, have you heard of the Daily? You may have heard of the Daily Mail. Last night, they put out and he tells the story again, very slowly, almost exactly the way he did about, 13 to 15 minutes earlier in the same speech. He's totally losing it. Absolutely. He was on something I just saw this morning. I don't know when it was, last night or this morning, that he was on. I just saw the clip before I came on the microphone here. And the things on the side of his nose that people say it looks like a lot of work has been done because he's ruined his nasal cavities because of snorting so much Adderall and whatever else he snorts. It was really prominent. And his eyes almost closed and really hunched over. I mean, looking really bad, sounding terrible. He's going down. He's going down hard. And Andrea Mitchell and everyone else is like, oh, this is going to help him. It's going to be even closer. Now, this might put him over. This might make him president. Okay, really? How dumb do you think we all are? All of Americans, how dumb do you think we are? Other polling. Now, you know what I think of polling, but this poll is more, certainly better than the Daily Mail poll. I mean, the Daily Mail poll is worthless. It doesn't matter. But there was a poll, and I'm not sure even what the source is, but everybody's touting it. Everybody's talking about it. Not Andrea Mitchell, of course. 49% of independents think he should drop out of the race. 15% of Republicans think he should drop out of the race. Okay, Andrea Mitchell? We're not that stupid. But 15% of Republicans think he should drop out of the race. That loses him the election by a lot. Again, he needs to gain votes, not lose votes, Andrea. These verdicts, 34 guilty verdicts, are hurting him. They are hurting him. They are not helping him. Okay? They are just not helping him. A political analyst from Bloomberg, Nia Malika Henderson, this is what she has to say in some comments, I think, on CNN or something like that.
And listen, this was probably Trump's biggest audience, right, in many, many months. So many Americans know about this verdict, want to hear him give some kind of statement. And here he is rambling. He looks awfully tired. He's beleaguered. To follow his train of thought, you'd really have to be sort of knee-deep in MAGAism. You'd have to be knee-deep in the goings-on of this trial, which most Americans are not. So here he is. I think there was an opportunity here. You always sort of have to go into a Trump Trump statement with sort of low expectations. I think he met those low expectations and surpassed them with this very rambling, tangential speech, completely self-involved. It did have shades of, I think, 2015 when he talked about, immigrants coming over from different regions, from Africa and Asia. There were flashes of that, but this was a real, I think, blown opportunity for him and a real reminder of how much he's aged and how much he's sort of, I think, off his game. He doesn't really seem very strong in this. He seems very tired and beleaguered.
He seems very tired and beleaguered. Oh, by the way, he said he was going to take questions. There's a clip on Fox that's kind of funny to watch, one of the hosts during this. And at the end, he just, he's rambling on. He's talking about immigrants. He's talking about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with what he's supposed to be talking about. And then he abruptly says, "Thank you very much." And he walks away and just saunters off. There's nobody walking with him. It was really weird. It was like all of a sudden he's totally alone. Maybe MAGA Mike Johnson says things into a microphone now like, "Oh, it was a totally unfair case. It was really, it hurts America. It's going to be overturned in appeal," which it's not. And it's just, it has to be. Otherwise, he's talking like that, but he won't stand next to Donald Trump. He doesn't want his photo taken with him anymore. Nobody showed up to stand with Trump for this event. And then he's kind of slowly sauntering off, looks sort of aimless. And everyone's going, what just happened? Is he done? I thought he was taking questions. People start yelling questions at him. He just gets into an elevator and leaves. And then all of a sudden the camera goes back to the host on Fox. And her eyes are wide open. And she's like, "Oh, well, that was Donald Trump. He apparently now is in the elevator. We were told he was going to take, this was supposed to be a news conference. He announced it was a news conference where he would be taking questions, but now he seems to be gone." So, it was pretty amazing. I think for entertainment, you should try and find his quote unquote press conference from Friday, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The more people see him, the more voters he will lose. The more votes he will lose. He has no chance of winning this election, a higher chance than what I have said in the past, that he won't even be on the ballot. I hope he is. I hope he makes it that far. I don't know that he will. We're going to talk about his near future. And also, of course, I need to explain the title. The Pecker knows what the Pecker knows. The whole thing is that David Pecker, who used to be the CEO of the company that oversaw the National Enquirer, story goes that David Pecker has in a vault, a locked vault, a whole bunch of stories about Donald Trump, dating back decades. Donald Trump is being very nice to David Pecker because David Pecker has control over or he doesn't know because David Pecker's no longer the CEO. He's hoping David Pecker took those stories with him when he left the company, but Trump doesn't know. So you hear his lawyers talking about Stormy Daniels is a liar, Michael Cohen is a liar. They never mention Hope Hicks because Trump, I think, still thinks he's going to get it on with Hope Hicks. He's like, She's a beauty. She's a beauty. She stays with me through thick and thin. She doesn't actually. She testified and absolutely killed you, but you were just too addled to realize it. But David Pecker's testimony was by far the most damaging. And not a word. Not a word by any GOPer whatsoever. You don't hear it from any of the legislators who wore the red ties and went to New York. You don't hear it from any Fox News hosts. You don't hear it from any of Trump's lawyers, including Alina Habba. You don't hear it from Trump himself. Not a word about David Pecker. Why are they not just savaging David Pecker? He was the most damaging to Trump in this trial. Why are they not even mentioning his name? It's because Pecker knows what Pecker knows. I just had to add the words the Pecker knows what the Pecker knows. Just to make it more funny. We're trying to have some fun here, right? Stop listening to Andrea Mitchell or all these. Stop listening to that. Oh my God, it drove me crazy when I was driving around. I was like, now I see why everybody's crazy. I see why everyone's scared. This is such crap. That is not reality. So we're going to get at reality here. We have a lot more to talk about Trump's near future. Surprising stuff I did not know that I have been learning. Man, so much to learn. And I'm going to tell you about it when we come back. You're listening to A Satellite View. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Be found guilty of falsifying business records as a felony, don't sleep with the porn star. Don't lie about it. Don't pay her off. Don't cover up the payoff. Don't cover off the payoff in the middle of a presidential campaign where you're making an illegal contribution, and don't roast the guy up for taxes who you used as the front man. If you don't want to be held liable for rape like Donald Trump has, don't grab the woman's genitalia. If you don't want to be held liable for defaming the woman that you raped, don't keep lying about what you did and calling her a nut job. If you don't want to be indicted for overthrowing the Constitution, don't start a self-coup. If you don't want to be indicted for stealing classified documents and obstructing justice, don't take the classified documents. When the government asks for it back, give them back. If the FBI serves you with a search warrant, don't hide the documents, and don't lie about it, and don't have your lawyers lie about it. This isn't that hard. Donald Trump is not the victim here. Donald Trump does all of these things to himself.
Yeah. George Conway, a lifelong Republican, calls himself a conservative. So many people like that are speaking sense now, at least about this. I don't trust any of them and their opinions about maybe like women's healthcare rights. But on the subject of Donald Trump, a lot of people like that. George Conway used to be married to Kellyanne Conway. They basically got a divorce because of Trump. Because she worked for him, and George Conway knows the realities and isn't a sellout as much as his wife is. I guess he's not a sellout at all. He gave up a lot to maintain this stance of just being a normal person. It's not that hard. If you don't want to be convicted of rape, try not to rape. He threw me off. I'm looking at my notes here. Another main theme here is that all of these people, not George Conway, these people like Byron Donalds, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz, the hosts on Fox, other MAGA Mike Johnson. So many of these people, it's looking more and more like they're just, okay, you know what? He's not going to be around long. Grandpa's up in his bedroom. He's got cancer. He's only got about a week. So let's be nice to him. I know he's really mean and he's losing his mind, but we just got to keep him comfortable. Seems like that's what they're, Trump is laying there going, it's a disgrace to the country. We have no country. We have no border. The judge looks so soft and pretty, but he's the devil. Yeah, okay. How's your pillow, Grandpa? If I would have beat Obama, if Hillary Clinton would have beat Obama, okay, I know, Grandpa, I know. I'm just going to adjust your pillow a little. I'm going to lift your head a little, and I know. We have no country. I know. Can you still ring the bell so I can come in and give you water if you need it, Grandpa? Okay, I know. She should have been locked up. I know. Okay, I'm going to be right out here, Grandpa. I mean, that's what it seems like they're doing. I know that was really long, wasn't it? Sorry about that. It's what it seems like they're doing. These people cannot be this crazy and stupid, can they? Can Mike Johnson be as stupid as he's looking right now? Can Sean Hannity really be as stupid as what he's saying right now? Can they all be this stupid? J.D. Vance, he doesn't seem like a stupid person. Well, actually, I think I know exactly what's going on with him. He thinks he's going to become vice president. But why does he think Trump has a chance of winning? I guess he's just there to, I'll fluff your pillow, Grandpa, until Trump maybe goes over the finish line, and then J.D. Vance, I'll be vice president within a month. This guy is out of here. These are things that I found really interesting that I never knew. I don't think very many people know unless they're a lawyer or really know how all of this stuff works. What needs to happen next with Trump is he needs to meet a parole officer. Do you think it's going to go like this? Mr. Trump, hey, have a seat. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, what's your name? Steve? Steve, nice to meet you. Beautiful day. I'm glad to tell you anything you need to know. So, yeah, glad to get started. Yeah, would you like a coffee or water or anything? Yeah, I'd like a glass of water. Thank you. Thank you. That would be really nice. That would be good. Thank you. You think it's going to go like that? It's a pre-sentencing hearing, or not. It's an evaluation. I should call it an evaluation. A pre-sentencing report needs to be written, and there needs to be an evaluation. A lot of financials, all financials, as much background as possible. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process. They all say it's going to be 1,000,001 questions that he has to answer. How do you think that's going to go? And they need to judge his level of remorse and recidivism. Is he going to keep repeating crimes? They're going to find out that he has committed crimes for decades. The only reason that he has been convicted is because he became president. If he would have just shut up and stayed the loser that he was behind the scenes, he would have gone on committing all these crimes and with no punishment. But no, he had to be president, and now he's being held accountable. Here's a big part of what this pre-sentencing evaluation is going to be. There needs to be a pretty extensive mental health evaluation, a detailed mental health evaluation. Heidi and I were talking, and I said, what if you go to jail and you get a physical and you get, all these evaluations? I didn't even realize how much they got. And I thought it was when you went to jail. He's going to report to the prison, and they're going to do an actual physical on him, and they're going to say, he can't be here. He's got to be in a hospital, because it's not going to be Dr. Ronnie or whatever his name, Ronnie Jackson. Is that who it is? It's not going to be him saying that there's never been a president more healthy than Trump. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a real evaluation. Now, I didn't realize this is going to happen before July 11th. This is a pre-sentencing report that the judge needs to have to refer to in order to come up with proper sentencing. It's going to include a mental health evaluation. I think when that happens, there is going to be an awful lot of alarms. Awful lot of it. It's going to sound like the beginning of that Pink Floyd song. Don't. It's going to be missing the bass part, but it's going to have all the rest of the alarms going off. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Is it going to become public? I don't know. But it's going to be devastating. There are already psychologists going on TV, which, that's a pretty big thing for them to do. To say, hey, I haven't done an evaluation, but this guy's losing it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it's obvious when you watch him, like in the clip I played earlier. You got to go at least find a photo of what he looked like during his thing on Friday. It's unbelievable. Anyway, also, part of the pre-sentencing report is reports on how other people have been sentenced for committing this same crime. The crime being falsifying business records with the intention of breaking another law. Now, there probably have been people who have falsified business records for tax evasion. Okay? How were those people sentenced? Many of those people were sentenced with prison time, some prison time. And they probably only had one indictment, so they were found guilty on one time of doing that. The maximum for that is 4 years in prison. I think the minimum is probation. I mean, Trump's going to have to be on probation. How's that going to go? If we're treating everybody the same here, this judge said, I really don't want to incarcerate you if I don't have to. That end part being the key. If so many other business people in New York, in Manhattan, have received prison time for doing this same crime once, by the way, none of them did it in order to fool the American people in a presidential election. Their felony didn't go that far up. Trump's got 34 of these. Now, there's a cap at 20 years. He can't get more than 20 years instead of whatever the math is, 34 times 4. So he can't get, the 100 and whatever years, but he could get 20 years. He's not going to get 20 years. I don't know if he's going to get 6 months. But there are more and more people saying, I don't see how this judge can give him 0 prison time, because that would be an outrage. That would be unfair to all the other people who've gotten prison time for this. More and more of it, and if you listened last week, I named a lot of my sources that I pay a lot of attention to every week to try and present this show to you. And more of these people are saying, I kind of can't see how he can get around giving him any prison time. This is 34 guilty convictions, each one with 4 years in prison. How can he not even send him to prison for 6 months, a year? And they're saying, and I'm not talking about, home arrest. I'm talking about prison. People talk about an appeal. This trial was done so above board that I don't see how it could be appealed. It's going to be very difficult to find a lawyer willing to appeal this case. Now, Todd Blanche seems crazy enough now that he might try and do it. But Todd Blanche, I think, also is one of those guys who's like, hey, Grandpa, how's the pillow? Okay, I'll be right out here, just trying to appease Trump. Thinks if he can try and bring it to appeal, bring it to the appellate court might just, immediately knock it down, but it's wasting more time. They're just trying to get to election day without Trump having to go to prison. That's what it's down to. That is what it's down to. Todd Blanche said that this weekend on Fox News. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, we're just hoping to keep him out of prison until election day. Todd Blanche is very wide-eyed now. He was trying to look as mean as he could, standing next to Trump when Trump came out of court every day. But now Todd Blanche is going on TV and his eyes are getting wider and wider every day, to the point where now, it was, yesterday or something, where his eyes were very wide. And he was like, we're going to do everything we can. If we can bring it to the Supreme Court, that's what we're going to do. And we're just, I'm going to do everything we can to just, keep him out of prison until, I'm going to play you, just to give you a window here on Todd Blanche. Listen how shaky he is here, okay?
When he was leaving, one thing he brought up were the witnesses who were not called. And he was saying that there could have been witnesses that would have helped make the case. We never saw Keith Schiller, Alan Weisselberg, some key figures here who got brought up a lot. Why didn't the defense call any of these witnesses?
Well, because we happen to live in America and we don't have the burden of proof. And so that's not the point. That's a question that is a loaded question that should not be asked of a defense attorney or a defendant. The question that we asked the jury, and they ultimately obviously got passed, is why the prosecution didn't call those witnesses, right? You, as a defense attorney, you don't go into a case saying, I'm going to fill the holes of the prosecution, right? And Keith Schiller and some of the other witnesses that were not ultimately called, in our view, should have been called by the prosecution. And we asked the jury to take a hard look at that. I don't know whether they did or not, but they convicted.
That is, could you hear him trying to think on his feet there? He's looking, his eyes keep going down and to the left and down and to the right. That's when somebody's lying and when somebody's just trying to make stuff up. And you could hear how shoddy he was there. First of all, well, because we happen to live in America, trying to come off as all snide because he's on CNN. He's not on Fox here. And how stupid of an answer or reaction is that? It's just the disdain that they try and show just produces disdain from me to them. And then he's basically saying the prosecution should have called the witnesses that would have helped us, the defense. No, that's your... He's saying the prosecution should have defended Trump more. Why did they not call these witnesses that would have helped my side? Okay, why didn't you call them, Todd? Why didn't you... I make fun of my own name. Why didn't you call them, Todd? It's your job to provide the defense. No, and the prosecution, they should have called the witnesses that would have been a defense for my client. What? Okay, so he's lost. So therefore, he may agree to take this trial to appeal. But otherwise, and you see how bottom of the barrel Trump is getting with his lawyers. I'm going to make a prediction now, and it's based on the information I gather from all these people who obviously know 50,000 times more than I do on this subject. This is not going to be appealed. I think even Todd Blanche is going to see the brick wall he's up against. I don't think anybody's going to bring this to appeal. The first appellate court is all black women, which now, of course, that doesn't mean they're Democrats. They probably are, but that's not how they rule. They are an appellate court. They will rule fairly. Doesn't matter if they're Republicans or Democrats. When you're a justice on an appellate court, you rule fairly. And this trial was impeccable. You don't bring it to an appeal because you say, you can't say he didn't have sex with Stormy Daniels, which I think is what Trump is telling Todd Blanche to say. You can't do that on appeal. That's not what's appeal. What you bring to appeal is if, say, the judge made a huge mistake or, something went wrong with the actual trial. Has nothing to do with the verdict, any of the evidence, unless it's something like, oh, the judge should not have allowed that piece of evidence. But this was an impeccable trial. There's really nothing to appeal. 99.9% of lawyers are going to know that and refuse to bring this to an appellate court. They'd be making a fool out of themselves. But obviously, I just proved to you that Todd Blanche doesn't worry about making a fool out of himself. He seems to be up for it. I don't know why he's so stupid to think he's going to get paid in the end. He's working for Trump. But I don't know. I don't know what his reasoning is, but he's up for the job. I don't know. So bring it to the appellate court. I think they're just going to take a pen and say, here, denied. There you go. Well, you didn't even read it. No, I didn't have to. And then I try and bring it to another appellate court. I don't know what the process is after that. Try and delay it. They can't even start the appeal until after he's sentenced. So the next thing that's going to happen, the introduction to the guy who's going to be writing your pre-sentencing report. I hope that we can watch video of that someday. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's going to be public, but wow. That's the next thing that's going to happen. And then July 11th, the sentence. Who knows? But I'm saying there's at least a 50% chance, I think more than a 50% chance, that nobody will bring this trial to appeal. I don't think there will be an appeal filed on this trial. And on July 11th, I think there's going to be some incarceration. Not ready to say prison time yet, but a lot of people are saying, I don't know how he can't get prison time. So I'm almost there, but I think he's going to get some sort of incarceration. It's extremely complicated because he's got Secret Service. But, we already know that New York has a cell ready for him. They've been talking about that process, working it out with the Secret Service. How do we do this if we need to do it? That process began weeks ago, if not months ago. I think there is a chance Donald Trump is going to go to prison. I don't know if it would happen before Election Day, but I think he's going to be sentenced to go to prison before Election Day. If there's no appeal, then he will go to prison before Election Day. So a couple things here that intertwine with each other. If there's no appeal and he's sentenced on July 11th, he has to go to prison. It could be some other type of incarceration. He's already not allowed to travel to Canada or the UK because he's a convicted felon. A lot of other countries as well. Right now, he's not allowed to travel there because of their laws. The world has been laughing at us, all of us, because we elected him president because of our stupid electoral system. But if he would have been acquitted, the world would have been like, okay, that's it for them. We can't count on them for anything. They're not a part of the world anymore. They wouldn't be laughing anymore. They would just be like, okay, that's a hopeless case. What the hell's going on with those people? But no, he was found guilty. And now the rest of the world's finally relieved, going, okay, America's not as crazy as we thought they were. They're bringing this guy down. Let's go back to 1965. 1965, a documentary made in Italy about the John F. Kennedy assassination. The announcer says, it's really difficult for the United States because they've never before had a coup d'etat. They called it a coup d'etat. They called the assassination of John F. Kennedy a coup d'etat because they're from a country that has had coup d'etats. You hear the Republicans talk about banana republics. This only happens in a banana republic. Well, because in banana republics, you have a tyrant and a dictator rule your country, and then the people rise up and get him out of there and then put him on trial and find him guilty and put him in jail. So the rest of the world's seeing, okay, finally the United States is starting to experience these things that a lot of us have experienced. In a lot of countries, France, a lot of other countries are going, good, they're handling it correctly. They found him guilty. That's what needed to happen. Now put him in jail. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, America. Don't be afraid to treat your tyrant would-be dictator the way he should be treated. Don't be afraid to use your justice system to bring justice for the people of your country. Don't be afraid, America. That's what the rest of the world's saying. And right now, things are going pretty well. It takes time. Things are going well. He was found guilty. I was listening. I happened to be driving and I heard it live. 4:09 p.m. I already knew the verdict was in, but we had to wait another hour or so for the jury to fill out their forms and everything. And then they came in and slowly I heard it rolled out. The judge is back. The jurors are back. Everybody's here. Here it comes. Here's the reading of the verdict. The first count, guilty. The second count, guilty. The third count, guilty. It just snapped on down the line. It was 4:09 p.m. on Thursday, the 30th of May, 2024. It was a weird feeling. It was, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. It was relief. Like a huge weight was lifted off my chest. I felt like I almost was going to cry. It was a weird feeling. You know, if it would have gone the other way, it would have been devastating, but it didn't. It went this way. And even though it's all right, it's good, and it's what I was expecting, it still was just a weird feeling. Things are going very well. Careful who you listen to. Come back and listen to this show. I will give you the information that the people who really know what's going on have to say about this. Not Andrea Mitchell and her idiotic people who want everybody's hair to stay on fire. They want ratings. They want everyone to be scared. There's no reason to be scared. Things are going extremely well. So I hope to see you next week, or have you listen to me next week. And let's keep each other sane. Let's help each other get through this chaos. It's going really well. Can you feel it? Can you feel it getting better? It's getting better and better. That's what we do here on the Satellite View. We're here to comfort each other. I hope I'm helping you out. please come back and listen. I will give you all this information that I spend time soaking up throughout the week as I'm, screwing in nozzles into my spray rack invention. That's a brainless thing, so I can watch, people on the Midas touch, all these lawyers that I've named. I can fill my head with all this information while I'm doing my menial work in my shop. That now I don't have to put as much time into actually putting thought into redesigning something. I'm just going to be going back to I'll be more focused on this. So come back and I'll try and keep the pillow comfortable for you. No, I'm just kidding. We need to stop at some point. Thank you so much for coming and listening. I hope to talk to you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.